Well, let's talk now to the national security analyst, Arash Aramesh, who joins me from Austin in Texas. Arash, good morning to you and thanks for joining me. A dark day indeed for Belgium and for Europe, and we've seen a message of solidarity from Obama. But what has the response been like to those Brussels attacks in the US?
Definitely a mode of solidarity, both in gesture and actually true action. Belgium, not only is it a major U.S. ally, but it is also Brussels is also capital to the European Union and very importantly so to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. These attacks, not only are they going after the Belgian people and people of Brussels, but they're also symbolic. They are attacking the heart of Europe. They're attacking only meters away from NATO headquarters. And these are truly symbolic attacks, especially a few days after a key ISIS operative that was involved in the infamous Paris attacks was arrested. So the reaction in the US has been one of solidarity in support of the Belgian people, in support of our European allies, and especially to enhance cooperation, to enhance intelligence sharing, and to enhance law enforcement operations and intelligence operations to be able to better A, predict and counter these attacks, and B, bring those who perpetrate such attacks to justice.
Now, Arash, they were obviously in Belgium, and well, US officials have said there is no imminent threat to any targets in the US. But do you think yesterday's attacks highlight a growing threat from ISIS on both sides of the Atlantic?
I think so. To be able to assess the threat levels is a very complicated game. Even those who are in the business, in the sort of the weeds of day-to-day intelligence assessments have access to tons and tons of classified and unclassified chatter and material. It's a very complicated system how to assess threat levels. And on the other hand, you really do not want to create a state of panic. You want people to live normal lives. You want people to go to school, to go shopping, to go to work. You do not want to create a security state in that sense, stemmed by panic. But there is definitely a fear that this is just the tip of the iceberg. ISIS and organizations like ISIS are not just going to sit in the Mideast or are not going to limit themselves to operations in Iraq or Syria. For years now, I mean, ever since the start of the Syrian civil war and ever since the creation and success of the Islamic State or ISIS, many, including myself, have been saying that Europe's borders, people who have European passports who go to Syria and Iraq are going to come back one day. That's going to be a key issue. Now, we know historically in the European continent, Belgium and France have not had the best intelligence operations like the UK or Germany for that matter. But again, there are ways to look into laws to enhance security security operations and to also give them the tools they need. There is a balance that has to be struck between civil liberties, for which I am very much in favor of civil liberties, and also security. That balance has to be struck. Very few spots in London you go to and you're not being monitored by a surveillance camera. There is a reason that even with some radicalization within centers in London, in Finsbury Park, and other cities in northern Britain, you don't have this rate of threat. But we have that in Belgium, we have that in France. Has to do with integration, has to do with economic situations, has to do with a whole host of immigration patterns in the host society, but also we need to give the men and women of our intelligence community the tools they need, in addition to be able to do a better job cooperating and getting intelligence from members of the community. I strongly believe that American Muslims, Canadian Muslims, and to some extent, to a very large extent for that matter, British Muslims feel a lot more integrated in their societies than Muslim immigrants would, in other countries. And that is why proportionally you see that the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia have done a much better job in that matter.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Thank you so much for your insight, Arash Aramesh, there from Austin, the National Security Analyst.